Alright, muri yeZimbabwe kusangana kwatiri kuita zvakare ipo pano pazimunews update apo patinoda kupa mafirst hand update anonga ari kuitika munyika yedu yeZimbabwe. Sekuziva kwatiri kuita kuti mutambo weconstitutional amendment bill number 3 vatsoka ropa pari zvino, apo patiri kuona George Charamba, Oppah Muchinguri, ana Christopher Mutsvangwa vakuita vachizvisudurutsa munhau ye CAB3 iyoyo, apo patakaona president Emerson Mnangagwa on Wednesday ndofunga kuma 899 vakabuda vachienda kuBelarusi, yanga iri private journey yavo. Havana kutombozikana kuti chii chauri kunyatsa kumbofambira. Veruzhinji vari kuti kwanza meno vari kuenda kunoonana nastrongman, kana tichinzi strongman pamwe ndezve marituals here kana kuti ndezvechii hatisi kunyatsoziva, but vari kunzi vakaenda kunoonana nastrongman kuBelarusi, Belarusian munhu wacho iye mhuri yeZimbabwe. So tiri kuona panapa mashoko ari kutoti ana Oppah Muchinguri vange vachidududza kudzoka kumashure. Vari kunzwa kuti wamatatu vari kureceiva mapetitions akati siyane ari kusubmitwa kwavari. Ari kunzwa kunzi nemautu kuti zvinhu zvemuri kuzama kuita izvi ma1 chaiwo. Chinotiratidza kuti waMnangagwa vanga vasipo zvechokwadi, because tiri kuona kuti nezuro pakaitwa dina yekuritaya kwaChief Justice Malaba vainge vasipo. Takaona naVP Chiwenga vainge varipo nevanhu vese vainge varipo mhuri yeZimbabwe. So tiri kuona vanhu ava kudzoka kwavari kuita kumashure havasi kudzoka zvezve, because George Charamba akabvunzwa maquestion nezuro akatadza kupindura kudhina yaChief Justice Malaba kwainge ariko George Charamba akabvunzwa maquestion, because tiri kuona kuti ana George Charamba its team Chiwenga, VP Chiwenga vainge varipo ndo vaitopa speech vaMnangagwa vainge vasipo mhuri yeZimbabwe. So tiri kuona ava iri timu iri vanhu vazhinji zvinogara ndakataura panapa ma-political survival vanosurviva munhau dzepolitics dzokutoti pakauya iyi vanenge variko, pakauya iyi vanenge variko. So hazvizodi kupinda nemwoyo sezviri kutaura naDaniel Garwe zvezvezvo, kutoti unobva watobuda pamberi kuratidza kuti uri kutofevhera nhingi chaizvo, kutoti nhingi wacho yakadonha, mese matodonha ndo patopera political career yako mhuri yeZimbabwe. So tiri kuona panapa zvakaitwa naDaniel Garwe zvezvezve zvekutoti kutaura zvinhu zvisina kukwana mazuva aya paaibvisa vanhu kwachiti kwanzi ana Magaya, ana Mabhiza, chichi chimwaya, maprofita enhema. Akuzobuda mangwana acho achitira kwanzi aitaura Wellington Magaya. Kune munhu anoprofita anonzi Wellington Magaya, angatotsiurwa kunzi zive zvouri kuita iweka zvinhu zveseright mhuri yeZimbabwe. So ndo mamiriro azvakaita mhuri yeZimbabwe kuti zvinhu hazvina kumira zvakanaka mukati mebato reZANU-PF. So toda kuti tinzwa makomrade vetinawo pano varada kupatsanurai nhauwa iyi kuti ichange yakamira sei, but tiri kuona kuti sort of like zvinhu zviri kuitika izvi mhuri yeZimbabwe CAB3 tiri kuona kuti pakauya Cyril Ramaphosa zvakati wamabhiza vange Virginia Mabhiza anga achiita kakurasirwa kunze pakauya Cyril Ramaphosa, because ava vanga vanyora constitutional amendment bill kudhara naziyambe. Saka pakauya Cyril Ramaphosa vakabva vaudza kuti no, makapiwa advice isiriyo naAntony General wenyu uyu. Ndo patakaona pakamboiswa pasaide ebijana mhuri yeZimbabwe. So ngatinzwe makomrade wetinawo pano muzongotudza comment section kuti dzinenge dzakamira sei.
Previous election or the 2023 election, it's actually now a chance for us to say, okay, fine. What does the constitution saying about these institutions? How are we establishing them? If there is a problem, then let's focus on correcting those problems. Let us not talk about extending the term or whatever. We need to focus on ZEC. Protesting is one of the solutions, yes, but we know the challenges around that. We spoke earlier on when we started about security reforms. We mentioned what needs to happen. So that's some of the arguments we need to press on to say, come on, guys, service chiefs are retiring, appointed to whatever body in the political party, but they'll end up in government. How are we going to have a free and fair election if things are like that? These are the leaders that are going to lead us tomorrow. And expecting a free and fair election from those people is quite tricky. So we need to push and say we agreed in terms of security sector reforms. What is it that needs to happen to create an environment for free and fair? But to push back on CAB3, CAB3 is increasing power. CAB3 is weakening democracy. CAB3, we need to reopen the constitution on chapter 12 institutions and others to strengthen our democracy and make sure that we govern our country in a better way. That's my contribution. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Thanks for that. Okay. Mercy or Dr. Tadini, just the way.
National the titles, do you know that chaos is the permanent state of existence? Or it is the highest order. Saka ukati either or, you're asking for chaos.
I
But
trust you two don't bring chaos to it.
yeah, no, I just, just yeah, a follow up on some of the things that have been mentioned by Uncle, with the issues to do with the capture and what Bill 3 is trying to do. In my view, Bill 3 is completing the capture of the entire state and its people. If you notice, ZANU-PF has successfully captured all the state institutions that you could think of, whether Machaptat or Man, the security apparatus, the justice system, you name it. The economy itself is captured. Because if you look at what the minister was saying, the minister of land was saying in terms of land allocation, and all that. That shows you that the most one of the most potent resources is being distributed with the whims and wishes of the political institution that all of us understand to be wrong. So they've pretty much captured everything. But the one thing that they have not captured or have not been successful in capturing is the people's opinion. This is why you can go to every election and say that the election was rigged, the election was rigged. It's because they have not been able to fully capture the opinions of the people. They have been able to silence them in a way or to ignore them. Even though the people say they want A, they will do B. But that is what then is causing them the lack of credibility. Because when the people say, okay, we do not want Mnangagwa as president, but we want so and so as president, or Chamisa as president, what they are doing is ignoring the will of the people or the opinion of the people. Then they insist upon their own, then they impose it. They can impose it because they've captured everything else, but they cannot run away from the discredit that the opinions of the people does not, or the opinions of the people do not tally with what they have imposed. They cannot run away from that. That's why we can all go to 2023, 2018, keep on going back, 2008, 2009 rerun. You can keep on going back because the opinion of the people remains somewhat free, although it is not listened to. Right? But with CAB3, what will happen is they can now capture that opinion. They can capture the opinion in the following ways. You will go to vote for an MP. When you vote for your MP, you will whisper in the MP's ear that I want a Masi for president, as an example. But the MP will be captured. The MP will be captured either by the same mechanism that the NPF has been using, bribery. If they don't do it by carrot, they'll do it by stick. If it's not bribery, they will create a fund that is specifically intended to deal with those 300 that are going to be voting. And that will be a way more effective fund and a way more cheaper one because it is dealing with a very small constituency. It's not dealing with millions of people. So it will be easier to run and even more discreet. And at that point, they can now come out and say, you know what, the parliament, all 300 plus, have agreed that this is going to be the president, and there is no dispute whatsoever. And you will not hear a whiff of disagreement. You will not. If you hear it, it will be something that is choreographed because there just has to be someone who has to vote otherwise. You see, and at that point, that will be the completion of the capture. This is why CAB3 is very dangerous and why I am vehement that the citizens have to go back to that point where they understand that any sovereignty that exists, any power that exists because they have allowed it. When we speak about going to 2023 and going back to election date and the power being given back to the citizens, what that is reminding us is that all citizens are equal and are of equal worth and of equal authority when it comes to the running of their state. But what happens is then citizens choose to give away some of their rights, some of their privileges, and then bestow it upon an individual. placing these individuals as first amongst many, right? They are giving it up. That's what they are doing, right? So when you go back to that 2023, you are showing the people that you have to reclaim that power that creates sovereignty, because it is the only power that is going to be able to challenge what ZANU-PF is. I'm stressing on this point, Kutindi respond upon aspect military. Zimbabweans have always had this sickle held over them, that the state apparatus are going to come for you and they're going to destroy you, and they might be the biggest player in this game. But they have to be reminded that the biggest player is the citizen. In as long as the citizen can organize sufficiently and act in unison, there is not going to be any other body that is bigger or more powerful than the citizen. I like to play with the numbers. The Zimbabwe standing army is less than 100,000. Their police force, including reserves, and then their police force, at most, if we're being generous, is at 45,000. Combined, if the citizens, just the adult population, is pissed off enough, they cannot do anything. That is me also trying to present these people as if they do not come from your homes, they are not your relatives. They are, and they are not going to act in an insensible way whereby they will totally destroy the rest of us simply to preserve the benefits of very few. The benefits of the few have become clearer with the days, especially with recently what has been happening with the Tungwarara children. I really like to thank those kids. And I want a YouTube video now. I'm trying to decide with the farm helicopter motor, but I'm thinking I'm going to take the helicopter. You see, that on its own plays in favor of the revolution. And, you know, it allows people to really absorb and understand where they stand with their government and how it thinks of them, including the whole charade yakaitika nemanesi. So I think I like that. Now, in lending, where I usually like to take this, people have to follow up with the participation. Participation, folks will ask, what is it that we're supposed to do? When it comes to CAB3, that has been emphasized enough. If you do not take up the call, do not keep on hiding behind the veil that there are no solutions that are being offered. I think you have to face yourself in the mirror and then tell people, which I am willing to sacrifice my kith and kin just for a little comfort, perceived comfort, that is, because it's not even comfort, given what Zimbabwe is going and what Zimbabweans globally are going through by just being cut off from their homeland. And so for the solutions, we know what needs to be done. We have to present ourselves in person, the force that is above the constitution itself, the force that is represented by the constitution. For international pressure, we know what has to be done. We have to deliver our petitions. We have to be present in every summit and make sure that before ZANU-PF enters that door, the conversation about CAB3 is already waiting for them. And then lastly, the other one that I usually like to warn people about is partnering with certain folks. They are comrades from ZANU-PF, let's call them that will vocalize that they don't want CAB3. I think we should never leave our own projects and then attend to their projects. I think let the projects run parallel. If they are true to the core, what is going to happen is that our actions are going to tally. Remember, this is an arrangement that has no trust. If it is an arrangement that involves ZANU-PF or ZANU-PF participants, there is a clear historical record that justifies why you should have a cooperation with them, but that cooperation should not ever include trust as a currency of exchange, or as a currency essential to the partnership. Host, I give it back to you.